All right, here we go. Here we go. The timeline is so weird, says Mark Mitchell. One of the country's biggest globo homo shareholders trying to start race riots to counter a Republican with the highest black approval in decades. The Osbury Park one is even planned for the very intersection the fire started in 1970. Really? All right, we got to start. Let's break this down. Mark Mitchell, he joins us tonight from Rasmussen. He's the lead pollster at Rasmussen. And he's also going to be one of the keynote speakers at our fall conference come up October 3rd and 4th, right here outside the Mid-South. Here in the Mid-South, outside of Memphis, in beautiful Collierville, Tennessee, rated one of the most safest communities in the whole state of Tennessee. Full details at worldviewstore.com. Get your tickets. Only 350 seats available in the theater at worldviewstore.com. He's going to be a keynote speaker. Woo, well, we have plenty to talk about and do the polling on what's coming up in 2026 this fall with Mark in person. All right, Mark, you teach me new things all the time. I'd never heard of globo homo. What is globo homo? What is that?
I mean, it's a real thing, although I guess it's a slang pejorative. I guess I only really know because I got my MBA from Wharton and spent time in corporate America. But I asked Grok to explain it to everybody succinctly because it's kind of like pornography. It's hard to define, but you know it when you see it. And a lot of people aren't tuned in on this, but we're ruled in many ways. And one of them is by capitalism. Globo homo is a slang term often used pejoratively to describe a perceived globalized, homogenized cultural and political ideology. It suggests a world where distinct national, cultural, and traditional identities are eroded by a uniform consumerist and progressive worldview, driven by Western elites, corporations, and big media.
Okay,
it's the sanitized fake world that we all live in. It's clown world.
It's clown world. It's DEI world. It's cultural Marxism, right?
Yep, all for dollars.
And we have to all be the same all over the globe.
That's exactly right.
And that's what the GLOB stands for, is globe? Like global?
Well, I think it's global homogenization was probably the root, but 4chan or somebody came up with this term drawing from, I guess, Dodgeball, a comedy, and some other stuff. Yeah, it's definitely internet culture pushback to our maximum rent-seeking corporate overlords, essentially.
Wow, you got the lines tonight. Man. Well, can you give that to me again? About this. Can you give? Yeah, apparently you do. Can you give that to me again? Comes from our what overlords?
I don't even know what I said.
That was
Brandon,
really
what did
good.
I just say?
Or something. Maximum renters, overlords, or something.
Yeah, the rentier class, the people who are extracting everything from us. We're entering such a brave new world because here's the thing. Even if all of our societal problems get corrected, if somehow young people can start forming families again because we enter a period of economic abundance, like those are really, really big ifs. But we haven't even begun to consider the ramifications of things like AI and ubiquitous technology and what that's going to do long-term to humans. I was just walking through the grocery store when you invited me on your show. And one of the things that occurred to me is like, probably back in the 50s and 60s, you knew your checkout person. You went to the store and they set a reasonable price because they owned the store and they liked you and they wanted you to come back. And now it's some corporate overlord that creates a pricing algorithm that basically maximizes the amount of money they extract from your wallet in a very impersonal way. The company's untouchable because it gets maximum leverage and is probably publicly listed and can get all that retail shareholder money. And you don't even have a checkout person. And even if you did, that person doesn't want to be there. And so it's not going to be a personal interaction. It's just horrifying. Like, what a reversal.
You're a real ray of sunshine tonight.
Yeah. I'm a cynic sometimes. It's,
No,
sometimes I get in these moods.
Let me just say, that's the kettle calling the pot black. So don't worry. You and I are two peas in a pod. That's very interesting. I went to a big box store over the weekend, and my wife got a bunch of stuff for the yard at one of these big box stores. And they have no checkout clerks. They used to. They're all gone. And so you get to take the wireless thing and go beep, beep, beep. And, I was a kid when all that came out. And, it was always the lady pushing the big old buttons, ka-ching, boom, 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 ka-ching, as the cash register would run as she's pushing all those big buttons. Mm-hmm. The kids have no idea what I'm talking about. But in the process, it went to the scanner, beep. And as a kid, I remember thinking that would be a really cool job. I'd like to have that job for a while. There's a lot of things I wanted to do. I wanted to be a truck driver. I got to do that. I owned 2 motor coaches, not at the same time. One for 14 years, wore it out, had to get another one. So I got to drive a 45-foot motor coach all over the country. So it's kind of like being a truck driver to some degree. I wanted to be a talk show host and do news and be a news guy. I got to do that. Wanted to be an author. There's a lot of things I wanted to do as a kid I got to do. Well, you know what? Now I get to do what I also wanted to do as a kid is be a checkout clerk. Because every time I now go to a store, there is no checkout clerk. So I got to get the wireless gun the other night and go beep, 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 and check everything out. And you're right. I mean, there's a guy standing there watching us like this going,
well, here's the problem.
There was no interaction with anybody.
No, every one of these things is maximally perverse if you think about it long term. And so you don't have a human connection at the store anymore. And a lot of people will say, oh, that's fine. I like checking out. I can do it faster. Okay, well, an AI is watching you and it's going to stop you every 30 seconds if it thinks that you put something extra in the bag. And this is the core of global
homo. Because it did. Yeah. It stopped in the middle and started telling me, make sure you did this. Yeah, I'm like, oh, shut up,
Yeah. So you're being watched by 50 cameras and processed through machine learning stuff and blah, 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 while some guy walks out and they're not going to stop him because loss prevention has figured out that it's better to just let those people go. Don't want the lawsuit from that guy getting hurt. That's what global homo is. And it's playing out like everywhere. I mean, this is all just part of our big future, I guess. And it's a whole different aspect. It's not the transhumanism. It's just the human condition. And that's important for public opinion. But think about all those Zoomers that went to work in a corporate setting post-COVID. And now they're like, oh, sweet. I don't have to go into the office. This is great. I can sit at home in my pajamas. Well, you're not assimilating into corporate culture. There is no corporate culture at your company anymore. You're not making friends. You're living in your basement. And oh, by the way, the Eye of Sauron is watching every one of your keystrokes. And these Zoomers are like, okay, yeah, that's fine. This is totally normal. We're not going to be able to run companies like this, and we're going to have a whole generation of people that don't know how to communicate in a corporate setting. It's really wild, like where all of this is going, and nobody's thinking about it.
So it's a global. What's the word?
Globo homo.
That means global
homogenization.
Okay, there you go. All right, crazy.
Maybe we can.
Now you should write a whole article on this. All right, now the next we would publish it. The next part of your tweet, the Asbury Park one, is even.
Oh, we're still unpacking this tweet.
Yeah,
this is
the very
like
intersection the fire started in 1970. Tell me what that's about.
I mean, the public figured out what the George Floyd riots were about a month after it happened. And they also got a very good lesson over the 4 years of Biden at identifying fake stuff. Let's just say fake stuff. And so the idea that these protests with people burning cars, like somehow that Americans are uniformly going to overlook all the imagery of Mexican drug lords burning cars and then somehow focus on whatever specific optic the mainstream narrative wants to push is just absolutely Looneyville. It's not going to work. And yet here we are going through essentially the CIA color revolution steps again. Like this stuff is all super planned. And what happened is, okay, LA kicked off. The Democrats come in to support it. And let's keep in mind that if you ask Americans how important is it to deport criminal illegal aliens, the answer is 80%. And so Gavin Newsom is supporting basically a 17% position here. Now you have one of the massive Walmart heiresses, a company with a lot of financial ties to China, one of the key movers of the global homogenization movement. I mean, we're talking about the CEO of Walmart, Doug McMillon, as part of the Business Roundtable, probably has a lot of ties to China as well, certainly has a lot of ties to all this ESG garbage, right? She's setting up this No Kings protest through this group Indivisible that has all of these super staged paid for events coming up this weekend. And there's one of them literally 500 yards from where I live in the summer. And it's, oh, by the way, the same exact intersection where the black community burned Springwood Avenue down 1970, a month after the Hard Hat riots. And the local police had to put it down with birdshot, 46 gunshot wounds. So, yeah, it's kind of wild that they think that they're somehow going to recapture this period of political unrest in the 70s when, like we talked about, the polling is minting right direction records left and right. They're not going to get a race riot when Donald Trump's got a 43% black approval rating. It's just not going to happen, right?
Well, here, in fact,
maybe localized, but
in fact, I have a poll somewhere in here. Here we go. A whopping margin of 20 plus points. Americans approve of President Trump sending the National Guard to the LA riots, 59% to 39%. Insider Advantage poll says. This includes 56% of independents and 37% of Democrats.
Good. Yeah, that's towering. Good job. That's a good poll. Makes sense. I mean, we have the same kind of margins, militarization on the southern border, supporting mass deportations. Like, imagine that. Donald Trump ran on this platform, won in a mandate, and people they're just not going to change their minds. And so you look at Gavin Newsom, and listen, I'll tell you, he wasn't polling that great to begin with, but this is not going to do him any favors. He was trailing Donald Trump by 12 points last year, back when Joe Biden was only trailing Trump by, 6 or 7. So he does quite a few points worse than Biden, and now he's not trying to gain voters, he's trying to lose them.
So he can kiss his 2028 presidential aspirations goodbye.
Yeah, I think so, because he's going to have all these montages of him talking about protecting democracy with a whole lot of interstitial clips about basically, being a secessionist. He's talking about withdrawing taxpayer funding from the government for trying to enforce federal immigration laws. It's wild. Like, people overwhelmingly want illegal aliens gone. Yeah, and so why would they do this? You could say, well, there's a couple of ways I can conjecture and try to explain it. One of them is that they're not worried about winning back power yet. This is about a power struggle within the party. And so maybe it is like whoever out crazies the other one is going to rise to the top. You can tell that AOC is kind of quiet right now. Mm-hmm. So that might be one of them. The other is foreign adversaries, I guess. Like, give me others that make sense. I don't know, but I'm just saying, from a public opinion perspective, this is like retarded. Yeah.
Well, we come back. We're going to get to more of this, including these things are spreading to more and more cities, and we're not even to Saturday yet, June 14th. I want to ask Mark about his recent trip to Washington, D.C. He went up on Capitol Hill. What did he think? Is Congress, the House, or Republicans in big trouble? What did he pick up on while he was there? Was he encouraged or was he discouraged? Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen reports. Rasmussen will be with us again right after this break. Don't go away. We appreciate all your support, folks. We keep it going each and every night because you, support these advertisers who, when you buy from them, then support us, and only when you buy. We'll be right back. Hello, I'm Brannon Howse. Is the government tracking you? Do they have access to all your data? Well, if you go to worldviewtalk.com, you'll find out about a cell phone company that, does not store your data. They don't do that. This is what they're known for. They don't store your data. You have privacy. You're not being tracked. That's why a lot of folks are turning to worldviewtalk.com. You'll find their prices are very competitive. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com. Again, worldviewtalk.com. Oh, while you're there, not only do they have cell phones that aren't tracking you, you can find out about how to get a satellite phone. Should the whole system go down and you want to communicate with a family member or a loved one, you might want to have a satellite phone. Or how about their solar generators? They have great solar generators. Check them all out right now. Worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com. Hello, I'm Brannon Howse. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepsid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. Collagen, but top grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHouseBG.com. And welcome back. Glad you're with us here on Brannon Howse Live each and every night at worldviewtube.com. Joining me now is Mark Mitchell with Rasmussen. And Mark, give your, where people can find you. Give your digits or your numbers or your letters or whatever we call it these days, your social media addresses.
Score poll on Twitter. That's where all of our content is. I put out some vivid takes on Twitter as well at Honest Pollster. And we also stream usually 3 nights a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday on YouTube at Rasmussen_poll. I believe we're also on Rumble. You can check us out on Getter, and we stream on Twitter as well.
Are we not getting those shows over here to carry at Worldview Tube after the fact?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, sure.
We'd carry them, wouldn't we, Logan?
Okay.
We'd pull them if he gives us permission. We'd pull them from YouTube, Logan said, if you give us permission.
Yeah.
We'd love to carry your stuff. You got great stuff.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see here. What else do I want to play? I guess this is spreading. This was spreading. I guess this was earlier today. I got, if I can find it real quick. Let's see here. Okay, this is in Seattle. Here's Seattle. And one of these chicks is holding I guess that's a chick. Who knows in these days? She's holding a sign that says, "Make the U.S. ungovernable."
I mean, it basically is, right?
Yeah, it is ungovernable.
I mean, that's basically where we're at.
And what's with all the umbrellas? Can someone tell me that? Is that like a Mary Poppins thing, or I don't know. What is that about? The black umbrellas? Do you know, Mark?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is the taco people, right?
Really?
Trump chickens out again, or whatever that slogan was. They're really not coming up with very good stuff. They really not good at messaging about this stuff at all.
Wow,
Which is funny because all that's coming out of this is like, I just see videos of Marines taking down Antifa people and like folks on Twitter fist pumping about it. So it's
not good.
The optics coming out of this are not good.
And then we've got, if you guys pull that down, I'll go to another one. We've got another one, I guess, today in front of the ICE building in New York. I guess there was more. I guess this is in hundreds gathered to protest ICE. This is in New York City. Here we go. Look at all those.
New York City, make some noise!
Stop the deportations now. All those pre-printed signs, Mark.
Well, what's funny is if you think back to what happened in the first couple of months of Trump.
Whoa.
What'd you see?
Whoa. Who did you guys just see? Hello? Right there in the headdress. That looks like Linda Saussure, does it not, Logan? You don't know who Linda Saussure is. Come on. Yeah, it does. Go look up Linda Saussure, please. Tell me that's not her. That looks like her. Do you know who Linda Saussure is, Mark?
Yeah. Coming back to the Trump one term.
Yeah, Muslim Brotherhood chick. It does look like. Put a picture of her up, Logan, side by side. I think that's Linda Saussure. Muslim Brotherhood's Linda Saussure. Isn't she the one that called for? She's in my documentary Sabotage, Logan. If you go to the introduction of Sabotage, I think she's the one in there calling for jihad on the White House. You want to put a picture side by side? I think that's Linda. Hey, look, the old man caught that quick tonight, didn't he, Logan? That's Linda Saussure there. I think so.
She's one of these people who looks like left Twitter. So I'm checking her out on Blue Sky, and the search is failing. I'm getting all kinds of errors. I don't think things are going well over there.
I think that's Linda. You want to put that in a search engine, Logan? See if Linda Saussure, what she's got on her feed tonight? That's important because we've been tracking this chick for a while. Liberation, what's her sign say? Liberation, not deportation. Liberation, not deportation. All right, I interrupted you with the breaking news of what looks to be Linda Saussure, but we'll confirm or try to at least. Stop. She is speaking at it? Do we have any video where she spoke at it? Next speaker up is Linda Saussure, because that was so early in the day. Logan, are you guys impressed? Nobody's giving me props for the eagle eye of catching Linda Saussure, that massive crowd. The old man caught it that quick, Logan. Come on. I mean, look at this. And I saw her, boom, Linda. That's Muslim Brotherhood, Mark. She's a Muslim Brotherhood gal.
Yeah.
This is a red-green axis. You know that, right? The red being the Marxist, the green being the Islamist. This is a red-green axis.
Isn't it funny that the people they're supporting have red and green on their flags?
Okay, so where do you think all this is going, Mark? Let me go to this. You went to Capitol Hill. What did you think last week after you went to Capitol Hill?
Well, about this, I'll just say that if you think back a couple of months, and if you were following Reddit, you'll know that they tried to get organic protests off the ground. They had a couple. Remember, there was like hands off, and before that, there was something else. Before that, there was something else. None of those worked, and these are taking off. So clearly, it's planned and funded. And I've already seen people like Mike Benz talk about all of the USAID and CIA cutouts that are operating this stuff, including Karen Bass, who apparently has ties to some of these groups as well in the history. And so I guess what they're showing is that this is just part of their plan. And obviously it's not a political winner. And so I think it's becoming more and more patently clear what they're trying to do, which is be accelerationists, try and force some response from Trump. And at the end of the day, if this gets screwed up into something like California threatening to secede, I think the only person that really benefits from that is China or some of our other foreign adversaries. So I think it's very, very on the table to ask these questions about the why behind what we're seeing going on right now, because it's not political reality. As for DC, I talk pretty harshly about DC. Not a fan. I don't try to go there. And I've likened it to a festering fens of theft and an unholy alliance between corporations and our kleptocrats. And again, not been kind. Like they're robbing the treasury and they're stealing from my kids' futures, and it's occupied territory. And it was nice to go down there. John Fawcett, the Great America Show, he took over for Lou Dobbs, set up some interviews, and I got to talk to people on Capitol Hill. Not what I expected. City looks cleaner than it has in years. The sun was out, everybody was happy. And I walked around Capitol Hill and I basically saw two things. I saw your bog standard white 20-something, Georgetown intern. And I saw a bunch of lobbyists, and that was who's walking the halls of Congress. They were just doing their thing. There wasn't really any urgency to it. Like I talked to these congressmen, and there just seemed to be like, well, yeah, we're trying to represent our district. We, are trying to support Trump, and here's what we're talking about or focusing on. Jim Jordan's got his subpoenas that he does, right? And looking back on it, there's absolutely no methodology. There's no focus. There's no strategic organization in order to try to get voters what they want. And what's weird is that Democrats don't have this problem at all, whether it's through maximum compromise, mutually assured blackmail destruction. I don't know. But for whatever reason, the Democrats are laser focused on whatever the Democrat agenda is. The Republicans are just going through the motions. And so the problem is that Trump comes in, he does a good job. I think a lot of people voted for Trump also voted for Republicans because they had no other choice. Democrats, he had a brand advantage going into this, right? People, I think, held their nose to vote for Republicans. And we had the polling. 60% of Republicans say that Republicans in Congress are not delivering on Trump's mandate. That's not a good thing. And so Trump comes in with this level of energy, and everybody is convinced the right direction shoots up. His approval rating stays high. They're convinced he's doing a good job, but they gave Republicans a chance. And what it looks like, and I've heard terms controlled opposition, I don't think that's what it is. I really don't. I think that they are just stuck in a pattern that they've been in for decades, and they have no intention of breaking out. And that is they just do what feels right to them at the time. If a lobbyist comes in and says, well, we really need you to do this. Okay, sure. Their district wants this pork thing in a bill. Okay, sure. And there's no ideology behind it at all. And I've seen this mirrored in the state and local parties. These people generally don't run on anything. And so that's the weird thing, is that Trump created this MAGA brand, this MAGA platform. It's the right issue set now. And it's different because it's a set of grievances of justice that Americans want wrought on the federal government. And Trump came in ready to deliver. The Republicans have not. Unfortunately, it looks like business as usual. And Americans told us that what they wanted is not business as usual in
Which
DC.
means the Republicans will lose the House in the midterms.
I mean, maybe people will just hold their nose because they have no other choice, because it looks like the Democrats are going to crazy themselves to the bottom. And then there's a whole other question of what black swans might come up, what level of electioneering, what type of hoaxes that they might try to run on the media, although I think that risk is passing. And so that's part of the problem, where it's like, well, if Trump starts deporting all these people, if there's crackdowns on election integrity, maybe one of the bad things is Republicans keep winning, because it's certainly not being reflected in meaningful spending cuts. It's not being reflected in meaningful reform at all. I mean, look at all the stuff Doge talked about. None of that's on the table. So Doge
has been a failure. Is Doge a failure?
A plurality of Americans say yes.
So your polling is showing the
48 to 40.
plurality. What? How many?
48% say it mostly failed. 40% say mostly succeeded. I think the Republicans, it was only in the 60s, mostly succeeded. And you say, well, maybe it hasn't had a chance yet. But people make up their minds, and these things are sticky. And Doge came in with a 55% favorability rating. And we had numbers where Doge, like we asked if Doge should audit Social Security, and we had numbers almost at 70%. So people liked this idea of accountability in the government. But now, because of the stuff that happened, Elon leaving in a very public way, I don't know why, but Americans mostly think 48 to 40 that Doge has been a failure and not a success. And so that's a very big lost opportunity for Republicans, because I think it was a Republican rug pull operation, quite frankly. I think Republicans had the kind of bill they wanted to pass, and they were willing to throw Trump a little bit of a bone, get some of his stuff in there. But it was really, I bet you the promises that were made going into this bill. And listen, I know they had to work to get the tax cuts through the CBO or whatever, right? Yes. But this is just not, I mean, listen, these people were leaving. You know what I noticed most? I walked outside, and at like 4:30, everybody's going out. It's 80 degrees down there. Everybody's smiling. They go to Bellwether's for a happy hour. I go to Capitol Grill. I see all these people from the administration there. Everybody's just smiling and having a good time. America is not having a good time, and our elected representatives just don't really appear to be breaking a sweat.
So you're saying they all live in a bubble?
Yep. They have no idea what's going on outside of DC. They think they're doing a good job. They have no idea what people think about them. They're not coming to me. I don't think they're even following me. And even if they were getting my number somehow, the systematic method of reinforcing a political focus in the party doesn't exist. All that exists, I think, is these people who have been there forever, the power brokers like Kevin McCarthy, figuring out how the national dollars get spent to what consultants and blah, blah, blah. I think that's probably the biggest decision-making process that happens within the Republican Party, because it just doesn't seem like this is a really big problem, because MAGA is whatever Trump says it is right now. But the clock is quickly ticking down on Trump, let's just say, right?
So their MAGA is going to go away. Trump represents MAGA. The values will still be there among the people. Trump always said, look, you are the movement, I just represent the movement. But once Trump is gone, there's no one to represent the movement. MAGA falls apart. Is that what you're saying?
The aggressive economic rebalancing to make America work for the majority of Americans is the part of the MAGA platform that I think will be readily jettisoned the second that is politically expedient to pretend that Trump doesn't have any political capital anymore. So I think that's coming.
No reforming the IRS or any of that. We'll all continue to be slaves of the federal government.
Oh, it's so hard to cut. Go back and look at how Romney talks about Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. They always talk about entitlement reform, right? It's all about, well, sorry, you're going to have to work just a little bit longer for that promise that we made for you that we knew we weren't able to keep. But the problem is that if you look at, I went back and had Grok run some numbers. I looked at our healthcare spending as a percent of GDP, and it's increased like over 5-6 times since 1970 when we made those initial Medicare and Medicaid promises. I think the number I saw was 1.2% of GDP was taxpayer-funded healthcare. That number is at like 7.5% right now. It's ballooned. And I went back and I asked Grok, like, okay, if Medicare, Medicaid had been capped at a certain percentage of GDP at the time those promises were made in the early 60s, it said our federal budget would not be 37 trillion right now. It said 11. God. Now, I don't know how accurate those numbers are, but it looks to me like healthcare is what has destroyed our republic because these numbers are just spiraling out of control. And what do we have to show for that? We're ranked number 48 on the list of life expectancies of all the countries in the world. It really has not been money well spent, and it was money spent by the government.
Let me ask you this when we come back from this quick break. Do you believe that there are the good guys up there that realize they're outnumbered, the deep state's running the country, that President Trump doesn't even have full control of everything, and they're so demoralized, and they realize how the game is played with the D's and the R's, that even the good guys are largely just going through the motions and demoralized? I want to ask that of Mark as we get ready to wrap up tonight's show. WorldviewTube.com, Brannon Howse Live. We'll be right back after this break.
True beauty isn't applied. It's nourished from within. Bella Grace Elixir, a luxurious, scientifically crafted blend designed to restore radiance, vitality, and strength at a cellular level. At the heart of Bella Grace Elixir lies cat's claw, a powerful herb from the Amazon known for its ability to control inflammation and protect collagen. With Verisol collagen peptides, it goes beyond the surface, stimulating your body's natural collagen production to reduce fine lines, improve skin elasticity, and promote real, visible change. Bella Grace Elixir doesn't stop at collagen. It includes astaxanthin, one of nature's most powerful antioxidants, 6,000 times stronger than vitamin C. Astaxanthin protects your skin from harmful UV rays and environmental stress, while locking in hydration and promoting a radiant, youthful glow. Experience the power of nature with Bella Grace Elixir at melissahousebg.com. Discover the science behind Bella Grace Elixir at melissahousebg.com. Read powerful testimonials from doctors and real customers who've experienced life-changing results, and explore other wellness products from Bella Grace. Bella Grace Elixir is more than just a product. It's a solution. Visit melissahousebg.com today.
Looking for a trusted source to understand today's world through a Christian worldview? Worldview Tube is built on the 35 years of Worldview books, columns, research, and high-profile interviews of Brannon Howse. Want to know more about Worldview Tube, its founder, history, team, and mission? Visit worldviewtube.com/about. That's worldviewtube.com/about. Worldview Tube is your source for understanding the times through the lens of a Christian worldview.
And welcome back. Glad you're with us. Just a few more minutes here with Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen, and we'll call it a night. President Trump today on how organized these protesters are. He said someone has to be organizing this. It's so professional.
So we have this guy allowing this to happen. Let me tell you, when you watch these agitators break up concrete and hand it out to people as they stood online to get it, these have to be paid troublemakers.
Mr. President, you're here to say that the governor and the mayor paid them. Do you believe that the governor and the mayor paid the agitators?
No, I don't say the governor and the mayor. I said somebody's paying them, I think. And if they're not, they're just troublemakers. What can I tell you? But I believe somebody's paying them. I mean, I've never seen somebody with a big hammer so professional. Now, they took the bricks away from them. So they say, how do we get in? The military did. How how do we get in and what do we do? They said, I have an idea. Let's break up the concrete, and that's even better than bricks. And that's what happened.
Yeah, you just...
Wow, Mark, there you go. There you go. And by the way, this fits with another screenshot. You mentioned it earlier. Here we go. No Kings, June 14th, mobilize, right? And then you get to the bottom, as you said, paid for by Christy Walton. That's of the Walton family, Walmart family, right? That can't be good for MAGA people shopping at Walmart. I bet you start to see a lot of MAGA people not shopping at Walmart anymore for a while.
No, I don't have a lot of hope there. I mean, Walmart's just so pervasive everywhere. But geez, what is it? $500 billion in annual revenue flows through those big, beautiful bricks. And I heard, listen, I worked for Walmart, and I heard at one point in time that 95% of their non-grocery SKUs were foreign domiciled, like not made in America. And I think the number is probably higher than that, to be honest with you. Obviously, a lot of it coming from China. Big ties there, a lot of money involved. And she's made a ton of money, too. In fact, their stock has done really, really well since COVID. Because remember, all of those local businesses were shut down. The Walmarts were not. You could go and do your little no contact, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And so COVID was a massive globalist tool of wealth concentration. Mm-hmm. And here we are. And now she's trying to upset the person who's trying to upset the status quo.
Stephen Smith. Do you know who Stephen Smith is? Of course you do. I barely do. Huh? Stephen what? A. Smith?
Oh, Stephen A. Smith. Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't that say Stephen right there? That's how he says it, Stephen? All right. Stephen A. Smith. I barely know who he is, obviously, because I don't follow sports. I think he was with ESPN at one time, right? Oh, he still is. I don't really care one way or the other, to be honest with you. But is he thinking about running for president?
Yeah. I pulled for him. I was the one that showed that he has numbers that are worth running.
All right.
Seriously.
Well, maybe I should.
Yeah, this was.
All right. You want to hear
back in February.
You want to hear what he has to say? Listen to this. Listen to what he has to say. Here we go.
When you think about open borders and illegal immigrants crossing the borders, ultimately you're alluding to it having a detrimental effect on the black community. Is that your way of saying that you felt the left did that to us, that they just disregarded black folks?
Stephen A., they've been giving us the middle finger since I can remember. All the way back from the Ku Klux Klan. They have never supported black people whatsoever. They hoodwinked us into getting us on food stamps and getting us with government assistance, having us to abandon our own success. We had our own bus line. We had our own schools. We had all this stuff. They tricked us into believing that the white man was the cure to our own issues.
Okay.
They tricked us. And then now look at us, Stephen A. They don't have to bid for our vote. They got our vote hook, line, and sinker.
Well,
so they're never going to do nothing for us. And when you look at it, they have just secured our vote, and they don't have to do nothing for us. And this is what we've created, Stephen A. Mm-hmm. We've created an environment where we don't benefit from none of it. Because the Democrats don't have to work because they know I already got us. The Republicans don't need to work because they can win without us.
I've been saying that.
Black women voted at 90-some% for Democrats. Stephen A., Donald Trump won in a landslide. You give it 2 more election cycles. Illegal aliens and Hispanics are going to be the majority minority. Therefore, black people can vote 100% for Democrats, and they're not going to have any leverage in the political environment. And I'll tell you this. The Democrats, look at their platform. They want women to have abortions. They don't support a marriage. They don't support God and things the way the Republicans do. So what does that do to the inner city black communities or black communities in general? We're not getting married. Baby daddy, baby mama drama out of control. We have an abortion more than anybody else. Obesity is out of control in the black community, which is one of the biggest plagues in the black community and the leading cause of death, which is hypertension and heart disease. What has the Democrats done about it? Nothing. The Republicans with RFK is saying we need to make sure we have better foods. We need to make sure the SNAP program aren't prioritizing soda to our young people, which a lot of black people are on the SNAP program. That's the difference in policy position.
Wow. What do you make of that, Mark?
A lot of that was very, very, very right. And when I polled on him in February, the numbers were really shocking, very surprising. He is a contender, despite the fact that 45% of people said not sure when we asked what his favorable rating was. So in my opinion, that shows that somebody that comes from outside of the party and talks common sense is going to get a lot of people's attention. He trailed Gavin Newsom, I think it was by only 3 points in a primary matchup. That's pretty incredible. He trailed J.D. Vance only 4 points at the time in a head-to-head. Wow. And again, a lot of caveats about how early it is. And these Democrats, they don't just go away. Like they are still going to exist and vote for Democrats. It's just a question of turnout. And then Kamala Harris, I think he was only down 19, maybe 20 points on her.
When you think about
she had
open borders.
Sorry about that. That was me on my end.
Yeah, she had $3 billion of name recognition branding. And she was the campaign, like she literally got 70 couple million votes, and he's only down. He's a relatively unknown, media personality, and he does pretty well against her in a primary matchup. So I think he's absolutely right to run because he has something very different to say as a Democrat. But here's the problem. Here's what's going to happen. What kind of happened to RFK is he came out of the gates with a higher Republican favorability than Democrat favorability because he wasn't challenging the Republican Party. He was challenging the Democrat Party. Then he lost the Republican support because he went out there and started talking about taking guns away and stuff like that, right? So then what happened is there was this political Armageddon, essentially, and he got squeezed. His support got all the way down to 1.5 points. So for Stephen A. Smith to be successful, he has to get the party nomination. I don't think the Democrat Party can or will allow him to, which means that they're going to make a super huge target out of him. And what he's saying is going to resonate with a lot of people. So there, what you have is the mainstream media carrying out, being the bag man, like the hatchet man, carrying out a hit on this guy is what's going to happen. And he's probably going to make them look even worse, peel away maybe some black votes, and the Democrat Party is going to put some establishment candidate in his place. And then a lot of people will be like, oh, okay, well, I still have to vote for my Democrat ham sandwich.
So it's up for grabs as to who runs in 2028, both on the Republican and the Democrat side, correct?
Well, there is a power vacuum right now, and we know that Democrat primaries are very unpredictable for sure. So I guess we'll just have to see how it plays out. I think recent history has told us that whatever the establishment wants is going to be the person that rises to the top, but I'm not sure that the establishment knows what it wants yet. I don't think it wants Newsom and AOC. I don't. And I think they know this. I think they're making a calculated move to try and suck up some of the oxygen and get as many supporters as possible. Maybe that gives them power later. I don't know. Or maybe they're just playing the stakes. I don't know. But the establishment Democrat is pretty quiet right now. I don't see a lot of stuff coming out of Hakeem Jeffries, or I guess he's virtue signaling some. Chuck Schumer seems to have completely abdicated. So I don't know that, their positions are not popular on Twitter. And again, Twitter is not real life, but Twitter is where I think the new narratives are formed. And people are openly hostile to all of this virtue signaling stuff that Democrats are doing in a way that I don't think anybody, the rhinos are getting pretty beat up too, to be honest with you. It's almost like Twitter was embraced by MAGA and then it morphed into something else, which is people just truth seeking. And so that's new. It's weird. I'm not sure what the effect is going to be, but it's going to amplify voices like Stephen A. Smith, which is going to make things dangerous for the Democrats. And they're going to have to try their existing tactics in an entirely different media context.
Let me ask you, as we get ready to wrap tonight, do you think that some of the good guys up there on Capitol Hill are just so demoralized? They realize how the game is played now. It's too big. It's like trying to turn the Titanic, and all the odds are against them. The media, the lobbyists, the money, the Republican leadership, and who gets power, because you never really see a lot of the good guys get chairmanships, the real hardcore, real good guys, right? Do you think they just, really, a lot of them are just going through the motion, trying to stay reelected? It's not a bad gig. I mean, I guess you could make better money somewhere else, no doubt about that. But it's still not a bad salary, and you get a good government health care, I guess, and not to mention the pension. I think the retirement plan's pretty good. So are some of these people just going through the motion, and they're just up there, rah, 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 make a lot of noise, but nothing's really going to happen. Nothing's going to change. We're going to get done with President Trump, and really nothing will have changed in the country. Is that what I'm hearing?
I guess. I don't even know if Congress was designed for the kind of things that we're trying to do with Congress right now. I mean, 200 years ago, it was farmers and business owners that just showed up, voted on a few things, and came back and spent time with their constituents. Now we're throwing major existential policy decisions at them and putting them up against stakes that they just don't appear to be able to handle, to be honest with you. And what I can tell you is they felt ubiquitously to be overwhelmed, but that they are focusing their efforts on whatever little thing that they can do that makes them feel good about the existence. And that's not good. It's just not good enough.
So the country's not, after 4 years of President Trump, we're likely not to get what the MAGA crowd wanted. But isn't that partly due to the fact the federal government's gotten so big? It was never designed constitutionally to be this big. You could be a farmer, go up there, vote on a few things, and go home. The federal government wasn't that involved. Their lives were not dictated by Washington. Their lives were at the state and local level. They were not dictated even that much by their capital. It was at the local level. I mean, it all should be at the local level. But now our state governments have become too big. The federal government is too big. The system, the constitutional framework was not designed to be like this.
Yet it is a human system that can be gamed, and it is being gamed, in my opinion, by the Democrats and not the Republicans. So I asked somebody this question down there, somebody I thought was really smart. I said, what should the Republican position on abortion be? What's the right answer? What should it be? And the person said, well, it should be pro-life. And I said, okay, what's been done in the last 4 years to make the Republican Party more pro-life? The only time I can even think of any abortion messaging coming out of Republicans, the person responded, oh, well, Trump did a pretty good job sidestepping the abortion debate. And then I said, well, that wasn't messaging. Why was it in the news? Well, it was in the news. The Democrats were attacking them over abortion, but Republican supporters of Ron DeSantis were the ones out there making a big hubbub on the internet about this, talking about how Trump wasn't pro-life enough. Now, here's the thing. I can immediately tell that that is not trying to change anything. You can't just do that. There is a political reality called the Overton window. It defines what is politically acceptable in the current context. And what I can tell you is that 100% banning of abortion is not anywhere within the Overton window. It is not a political reality. It's not going to happen. So here is the situation. If the Republican Party principle on abortion should be full ban, we can debate whether it should or not. If it's perceived to be by people who are in a position of leadership, what's your plan to shift the Overton window to the right? And what I can tell you is the Democrats have a plan to shift the Overton window to the left. Republicans do not have a plan to shift it back. That takes money, it takes thought, it takes organization, it takes structure, it takes a lot of stuff. Leadership, and none of that is being done at all.
Well, the truth is it is what it is, and we have you on here to talk the truth and tell us what's going on.
Yeah.
So, and again,
well, I don't want to be hopeless. I mean, right. I believe in the fourth turning, which means that essentially systems fail so much that society craves release, craves the pendulum to swing back. And so really what we have here is that the elected leaders can do this, or, the people are representatives, all the federal bureaucrats down there, they can do this, or the people will do it. And it will probably be messier if the people do it.
So are we headed for a civil war? I mean, is all of this that we're seeing in L.A. and the governor of Oregon saying Trump can't get a hold of my National Guard, and the comments by Gavin will come arrest me, is all of this setting up for a civil war in the country as well as World War III? I think, again, we got foreign and domestic funding all this chaos that will be used by people like China to maybe blockade Taiwan or do other things. But do you think that there's a bigger civil war coming where conservatives are going to say, we want to secede? We want to get out. We want our states to leave. This is a failed experiment. We're tired of being taxed into oblivion for corruption, for people just to line their pockets, for them to give the money to their special interest groups, their family, their friends, the corrupt judges, all the stuff we've seen, send overseas to countries that hate our guts, want us destroyed. Is this the chance for some states to step up and say, you know what, Oregon? You know what, California? You guys can have all that. Good for you. Go. But we're going too. We're out.
We've tested the idea of a national divorce, and it wasn't very popular. I forget the numbers. I think it might have been in the low 30s, but don't quote me on that. But this is a very secessionist stance that Gavin Newsom is taking. He's openly defying federal law, claiming essentially states' rights. And the whole issue is over the representation of humans in Congress. Like, it sounds an awful lot like 1860 when you frame it that way. It just does. And also, as you mentioned, there are all these other forces at play, things behind the scenes, things that a lot of people have made suppositions about, but some of it is obviously true. I think it's fair to almost say that we're in some kind of cold civil war right now. The level of open defiance of the federal government and the calls to abolish federal agencies and that Trump's a dictator. I think that the language and posturing is getting pretty bad. But this is also on top of the fact that somebody's waging fifth generation warfare with us, and we're also engaged in another proxy war for NATO. So there's a lot of forces at play. It's hard to pin them down on any one, but it's, again, a bad situation. And it's through years of institutional rot and decay and capture and corruption. And at some point, the people will revert the system to the mean. It's just a question of what that looks like and when.
The fourth turning. Wow. Follow him on X. There it is, folks. Follow him on X. At Honest Pollster. At Honest Pollster. And, of course, also RasmussenReports.com. But, again, just follow him on X. You'll get so much. At Honest Pollster. He'll also be a keynote speaker for us at our fall Worldview Weekend. Look at that lineup right there. A major lineup. Gordon Chang, Alex Newman, Sidney Powell, Dr. Lana Hadina, Dr. Woods, Chris Martinson, and Mark Mitchell, and myself. We only have seating for 350 people, so you might want to get your tickets while they're still available. WorldviewStore.com, WorldviewStore.com. Mark, as always, thank you for being with us. There is definitely no shortage of things to talk about. Looking forward to your fall presentation as you poll the American people on their worldview and where we're going and what they are, their values and their worldview. We'll look forward to that. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah. Great to be here. Thanks.
Mark Mitchell checking in tonight. All right, before we go, folks, remember, you help make it all possible. Here we are streaming out a great show tonight. And again, we need your support. Please consider going right here, worldviewtube.com, worldviewfoundation.com, I should say, worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. You'll also find our mailing address there if you prefer to support us through the mail. Please consider doing so. Tell your family and friends about the broadcast. Won't you tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, True Social, put out the word about Worldview Tube, 24/7 news. We, by the way, have our health channel. If you go to our main page, you'll find our health channel. And here in the next few hours, we should be adding our history channel. And then pretty soon, we'll be adding our Bible prophecy channel. So, folks, it's going to be pretty huge. All the programming we're bringing to you. And notice, none of it's behind a paywall. All the streams are out there for you. WorldviewFoundation.com helps make it possible. You can also use our phone number if you prefer to call my wife, Melissa. Just call and leave her a voicemail or text her and say, hey, I'd like for you to call me back, Melissa, because I want to make a contribution over the phone. She'll help you do that. WorldviewFoundation.com. Our foundation helps us push out programming for public service, education, and ministry as well. Don't forget, we also have through our foundation our Sunday night church service. Right now, I'm teaching through the book of Revelation. You'll find that on demand if you missed it Sunday night. Right now, it's on demand at worldviewtube.com. Roll the music. Let's call it a night. Another way you can support us is, of course, by going to worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. You'll find so many of our sponsors there. Hey, folks, I have no idea what's coming, but you might want to go to worldviewhealthcare.com, get your emergency medical kits, make sure you have your antibiotics and other things on hand, because, again, you go to this kind of situation, you could have disruption of just-in-time inventory, critical infrastructure, power. Have the essentials ready to go, folks. like your emergency medical kits, or your Worldview Talk for your solar generators, your satellite phones, and so much more. And again, folks, also, don't forget about going to Worldview Store, your freeze-dried food, your emergency supplies, all of that, okay? All right, thanks for watching. As always, we appreciate your prayers and your support and telling your family and friends about the program. Till next time, I'm Brannon Howse. May God save America. Take care.